Believe in yourself, because nothing extraordinary has ever been built by a mind filled with doubt. Greatness does not start in the world outside you. It starts in the invisible space within your own mind. Before success ever shows itself in form, it must first exist as belief. Every achievement you admire, every legacy you respect, every empire ever built was once nothing more than a decision to believe without evidence. Most people wait. They wait for permission, they wait for confidence, they wait for signs, but greatness never responds to waiting. It responds to belief backed by action. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. If you do not believe in yourself, no one else ever truly will. The world mirrors your inner conviction. Weak belief produces weak results. Strong belief creates unstoppable momentum. Your mind is not just a thinking tool. It is a magnet. It attracts according to the frequency you operate on. When your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, and hesitation, you unconsciously repel opportunity. But when your mind is dominated by certainty, purpose, and belief, life begins to rearrange itself. Doors open, people appear, resources show up, not by luck, but by alignment. Doubt is the enemy you must defeat first. Not competition, not circumstances, not lack of resources. Doubt, it creeps in quietly, disguised as realism, caution, or humility. But doubt is nothing more than fear wearing a convincing mask. And fear only exists where belief is absent. The moment you strengthen belief, fear loses its authority. Understand this deeply. Belief must come before proof. If you wait to believe until results appear, you will wait forever. The greatest achievers believed while nothing was visible. They moved when the road was unclear. They trusted when logic said stop. And because of that, results eventually had no choice but to follow. When you truly believe in yourself, something powerful happens. You activate forces you cannot see. Your posture changes, your voice changes, your decisions become decisive, your actions gain intensity, and the world responds differently to you. People sense certainty. Opportunities respect confidence. Life listens to those who speak with conviction. Belief is not loud motivation. It is quiet certainty. It is showing up when no one is watching. It is staying disciplined when results are slow. It is continuing when quitting feels logical. Consistent belief, practiced daily, hardens into identity. And once belief becomes who you are, nothing external can shake you. Greatness is not reserved for the chosen few. It is reserved for those who choose themselves, those who decide without apology that their life will mean something, that their potential will not die unused, that their mind will be a place of power, not limitation. Make the decision now. Believe first, act boldly, persist relentlessly, and let the world catch up to the certainty you already hold within. Because the first step to greatness has never been talent, luck, or timing. It has always been belief. Belief is the birthplace of all achievement. Before anything takes shape in the physical world, it is first conceived in the invisible realm of the mind. Every great outcome, every powerful transformation, every extraordinary life begins with a single inner decision, the decision to believe. Not after proof appears, not after circumstances improve, but before anything changes. Belief is the spark that ignites action, and without it, even the greatest potential remains dormant and unused. The world does not reward wishful thinking. It responds to conviction. When a person truly believes, their thoughts align, their emotions sharpen, and their actions gain direction. Belief gives clarity to effort. It turns confusion into focus and hesitation into movement. A mind filled with belief does not ask, can this be done? It asks, how will I make this happen? That shift alone separates the ordinary from the exceptional. Most people fail long before they ever fail in action. They fail in their thinking. They carry invisible limits, inherited fears, and borrowed doubts. They allow past mistakes to define future possibilities. But belief has the power to break this pattern. When you believe in yourself, you stop negotiating with fear. You stop shrinking your vision to fit your comfort zone. You begin to see obstacles not as walls, but as tests of commitment. Belief changes how you carry yourself. Your voice becomes firm. Your posture becomes confident. Your decisions become decisive, and the world notices. Opportunities respond to certainty. People trust those who trust themselves. Life opens doors for those who walk with purpose instead of permission. This is not coincidence, it is cause and effect. Inner belief creates outer results. There is a quiet force that awakens when belief is strong. It cannot be seen, but it can be felt. It is the force that pushes you to act when motivation fades. It is the force that keeps you moving when results are delayed. It is the force that turns persistence into inevitability. Those who achieve greatness are not always the most talented or the most intelligent, but they are almost always the most convinced. Doubt is the most dangerous enemy because it operates silently. It disguises itself as logic, as caution, as realism. It whispers that the timing is wrong, that you are not ready, that others are more capable. But doubt has no power of its own. It only exists where belief is weak. Strengthen belief, and doubt loses its voice. Belief must come before evidence. Waiting for proof before believing is a trap that keeps potential locked away. The unseen must be trusted before it becomes seen. Every meaningful accomplishment follows this law. The belief comes first, the action follows, and the result eventually arrives. Reversed order never works. When belief becomes consistent, it reshapes identity. You no longer act confident, you become confident. You no longer chase success, you expect it through disciplined effort. Your habits begin to reflect your standards begin to reflect your self-image. And your self-image is always a product of belief. Belief does not eliminate fear, but it places fear in its proper position. Fear becomes a signal, not a stop sign. It becomes proof that you are moving towards something meaningful. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is belief deciding that the goal matters more than the discomfort. The mind is always at work, either building or destroying. It is never neutral. Feed it belief and it constructs paths forward. Feed it doubt and it manufactures excuses. What you repeatedly think, you eventually live. What you consistently believe, you inevitably become. Greatness is not reserved for a select few. It is available to anyone willing to claim it internally before it appears externally. The moment you believe in yourself without compromise, you change the direction of your life. You step into alignment with your potential. You begin to act with intention instead of reaction. Belief demands responsibility. Once you believe, excuses lose validity. You can no longer blame circumstances when you know your mind holds power. You can no longer wait for confidence when belief itself creates confidence through action. Belief is not passive. It demands movement, discipline, and persistence. Every day you are either reinforcing belief or reinforcing doubt. Every thought, every decision, every repeated action strengthens one or the other. Choose belief deliberately. Guard it fiercely. Feed it daily with focused thought and decisive action. Let it become the foundation upon which everything else is built. Because when belief is firm, effort becomes powerful. When belief is strong, persistence becomes natural. And when belief is unshakable, achievement becomes inevitable. Your mind is the most powerful asset you own. Everything you will ever create, achieve, or beck. Om is first formed in the unseen space of your thinking. Long before results appear in your hands, they are shaped by the thoughts you allow to live in your mind. Nothing in your life operates independently of it. Your circumstances, your habits, your confidence, and your direction all rise or fall according to how you use this inner power. The mind is not a passive observer of reality. It is an active force that interprets, directs, and influences everything you experience. When it is disciplined, focused, and intentional, it becomes a tool of creation. When it is neglected, unfocused, and filled with doubt, it becomes a source of limitation. The same mind that builds greatness can also sabotage potential. The difference lies in control. Every thought carries energy. Repeated thoughts become beliefs. Beliefs shape decisions. Decisions create actions. Actions determine results. This chain never breaks. If you want to change your results, you must first change the thinking that produces them. External effort without internal alignment leads to frustration. Internal mastery turns effort into progress. Most people spend years trying to change their environment while ignoring the mind that reacts to it. They seek motivation, luck, or validation from outside sources, unaware that the greatest resource they possess is already within them. Once you understand this, you stop chasing power and start cultivating it. The mind responds to direction. Left unmanaged, it drifts toward fear, comparison, and distraction. Directed with purpose, it moves toward clarity, confidence, and strength. What you focus on expands. What you repeatedly think becomes familiar. Familiar thoughts turn into identity. This is why control of the mind is not optional for those who aim for greatness. Your self-image is built in the mind. You will never consistently outperform the version of yourself you believe to be true. If you see yourself as limited, your actions will reflect that belief. If you see yourself as capable, disciplined, and resilient, your behavior will naturally align with that image. The mind always works to prove itself right. Fear does not originate in reality. It originates in interpretation. The mind takes uncertainty and transforms it into imagined danger. But that same mind can take uncertainty and transform it into opportunity. The difference is not circumstance, it is perspective. Master the mind and fear loses its control. The strongest individuals are not those with the easiest lives, but those with the strongest mental discipline. They have learned to guard their thoughts, to reject negativity, and to replace doubt with intention. They do not allow temporary setbacks to become permanent identities. They understand that adversity tests the mind before it ever tests ability. Repetition strengthens the mind. Whatever you think about most becomes your mental home. If you rehearse failure, your mind becomes comfortable with defeat. If you rehearse success, resilience, and progress, your mind begins to search for ways to make those ideas real. The mind follows the patterns you establish. Your internal dialogue matters. The way you speak to yourself in silence shapes how you show up in the world. Weak language creates weak responses. Strong language builds strong action. When your thoughts are deliberate, your actions become intentional. When your actions are intentional, results follow naturally. The mind thrives on purpose. Without a clear direction, it becomes restless and destructive. With a defined aim, it becomes focused and powerful. Purpose gives your thought structure. Structure creates discipline. Discipline turns potential into achievement. You cannot afford to be careless with your mind. Every influence you allow in, every thought you entertain, every belief you accept is shaping your future. Protect it, train it, challenge it, demand more from it. This is not self-help. This is self-mastery. When the mind is aligned, with belief and action, effort becomes efficient. Persistence becomes natural. Confidence becomes steady. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop asking for permission and start making decisions. You stop waiting for the right moment and begin creating it. The greatest investment you will ever make is not in money, status, or possessions. It is in the strength, discipline, and clarity of your mind. When the mind is powerful, everything else follows. Doubt is the silent killer of potential. It does not announce itself loudly or attack with force. It works quietly, patiently, weakening ambition from the inside. It enters the mind as a small hesitation, a harmless question, a moment of uncertainty. Left unchecked, it grows into a permanent barrier between what a person is capable of and what they are willing to attempt. More dreams are buried by doubt than by failure, because doubt convinces people to stop before they ever begin. Doubt feeds on comfort and fear. It tells you to wait until conditions are perfect, until confidence arrives, until the timing feels safe. It disguises itself as logic and realism, making inaction feel responsible. But in truth, doubt exists to protect you from risk, not to guide you toward growth. Potential requires movement, and doubt exists to prevent it. The danger of doubt is not that it makes you fail, but that it makes you settle. It lowers expectations quietly. It convinces you to aim smaller, to choose security over possibility. Over time, it reshapes identity. You begin to see yourself not as someone who tries and grows, but as someone who watches and wonders. This transformation happens slowly, which is why it often goes unnoticed until years have passed. Doubt thrives in the absence of belief. Where belief is weak, doubt gains authority. It questions your ability, your worth, and your readiness. It brings past mistakes into the present and projects imagined failures into the future. It keeps you trapped in mental loops that drain energy without producing action. And because doubt feels internal, people mistake it for truth. Most limitations are not physical or external. They are mental agreements made with doubt. The mind accepts a suggestion, repeats it, and eventually treats it as fact. Once that happens, behavior aligns with limitation. Opportunities are ignored. Effort becomes half-hearted. Discipline weakens, not because ability is missing, but because confidence has been undermined. Doubt has one primary weapon: delay. It encourages waiting instead of acting. Waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting for certainty. But growth never happens in waiting. Progress happens in motion. Action weakens doubt. Inaction strengthens it. Every time you hesitate, doubt gains influence. Every time you move forward, despite uncertainty, doubt loses power. Those who achieve greatness are not immune to doubt. They simply refuse to obey it. They understand that doubt is a signal, not a command. It appears when you are approaching something meaningful. Instead of retreating, they lean in. They act while doubt is present, knowing that clarity comes through engagement, not avoidance. Doubt isolates you from your potential by keeping your focus inward on fear instead of outward on possibility. It turns challenges into threats and effort into burden. But when confronted, doubt collapses quickly. It cannot survive consistent action. It cannot argue with momentum. It only exists in hesitation. The mind will always present reasons to stop. It is conditioned to seek safety. But safety and growth rarely exist in the same space. Potential demands discomfort. It demands risk. Doubt attempts to protect you from that discomfort by convincing you that remaining small is sensible. But comfort is expensive. It costs you the life you could have lived. Every achievement requires a moment where doubt is overridden, a moment where belief speaks louder than fear. That moment defy. NES direction. One decision can separate stagnation from progress. One action can silence years of hesitation. Doubt weakens resolve when left unchallenged, but it strengthens resolve when faced directly. Each time you move forward despite uncertainty, you train the mind to trust action over fear. Over time, confidence replaces hesitation. Discipline replaces excuse. Momentum replaces paralysis. You cannot eliminate doubt completely, but you can refuse to give it authority. Treat it as noise, not instruction. Do not argue with it endlessly. Outwork it, act through it. Let experience dismantle it. Potential is fragile in the presence of doubt, but unstoppable in the presence of belief and action. When you choose movement over hesitation, doubt loses its grip. When you choose progress over comfort, potential finally has room to breathe. Self-belief activates hidden forces within you. The moment you truly believe, something shifts beneath the surface of your awareness. Energy aligns, focus sharpens, intention becomes powerful. What once felt distant or impossible begins to feel reachable, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Belief is not a feeling of excitement. It is an inner command that directs the mind, the body, and the will toward a definite purpose. There are capacities within you that remain dormant until belief awakens them. Discipline, resilience, creativity, and persistence do not respond to pressure alone. They respond to conviction. When belief is weak, effort is scattered. When belief is strong, effort becomes concentrated. The same person with the same resources can produce radically different results depending on the level of belief guiding their actions. Self-belief changes how you interpret struggle. Without it, obstacles appear as signs to stop. With it, obstacles become signals to adapt and advance. The mind begins to search for solutions instead of excuses. Energy that was once wasted on hesitation is redirected into problem solving. This internal shift is subtle but powerful. It turns resistance into momentum. Hidden forces are activated when belief removes internal conflict. Doubt creates friction within the mind, pulling you in opposite directions. Belief unifies thought, emotion, and action. When these elements move together, progress accelerates. Decisions become faster. Commitment becomes deeper. Effort becomes more effective. Self-belief strengthens intuition. You begin to trust your judgment instead of constantly seeking external validation. This trust sharpens awareness. You notice opportunities others overlook. You recognize patterns. You act decisively while others hesitate. Confidence does not come from knowing everything. It comes from trusting your ability to figure things out as you move forward. The body responds to belief as much as the mind does. Posture, breathing, tone of voice, and movement all change when belief is present. These physical shifts influence how others perceive you and how you perceive yourself. Confidence becomes embodied. Action follows naturally, not forced, but driven. Belief also alters persistence. When you believe deeply, quitting feels unnatural. You may adjust your strategy, but you do not abandon the goal. Setbacks lose their emotional weight. Failure becomes feedback. Each attempt strengthens resolve instead of weakening it. This is where belief becomes power. The world responds differently to those who believe in themselves. Certainty attracts cooperation. Confidence invites opportunity. People trust those who trust themselves. This is not manipulation, it is alignment. When internal belief is strong, external resistance weakens. Self-belief activates imagination. You begin to envision outcomes clearly and repeatedly. The mind rehearses success. This mental rehearsal influences behavior. Actions align with vision. The gap between intention and execution narrows. What you see internally begins to express itself externally with how. Belief, potential remains theoretical. With belief, it becomes practical. The difference is action fueled by conviction. Belief does not eliminate effort, it gives effort meaning. It does not guarantee ease, it guarantees persistence. Belief also strengthens emotional control. Fear may still appear, but it no longer dominates. Anxiety loses authority. Confidence steadies response. You act from purpose instead of reaction. This emotional stability allows for consistent progress over time. Hidden forces are not mystical, they are psychological and behavioral. Focus, discipline, resilience, intuition, and adaptability are always present, waiting for activation. Belief is the switch. Once turned on, these forces begin working together in your favor. When belief becomes habitual, it reshapes identity. You no longer see yourself as someone trying to succeed, but as someone committed to growth. This identity drives behavior automatically. Habits align with standards. Standards align with vision. Self-belief is not arrogance. It is acceptance of responsibility for your own potential. It is the decision to trust your ability to learn, adapt, and persist. It is the refusal to let doubt define your limits. When you believe, you move differently, you speak differently, you decide differently. And over time, these differences compound into results that once seemed unreachable. Hidden forces respond to belief because belief gives them direction. The world responds to inner certainty. Long before words are spoken or actions are taken, people and circumstances sense what you believe about yourself. Certainty is not noise, and it is not arrogance. It is a quiet, grounded assurance that shapes how you move, decide, and persist. When certainty is present within, the outside world begins to adjust in ways that often seem invisible but are always influential. Inner certainty removes hesitation. When you are certain, you do not waste energy convincing yourself. Your actions flow with purpose instead of doubt. This clarity is felt by others. People trust those who are sure of their direction. Opportunities gravitate toward individuals who move decisively. Uncertainty repels progress, but certainty invites alignment. The mind communicates certainty through behavior. Eye contact, posture, tone, and timing all reflect internal belief. These signals are read instantly, often subconsciously. The world does not analyze your intentions, it reacts to your presence. When your inner state is steady, your external interactions gain power. Doors open not because of chance, but because certainty inspires confidence in others. Inner certainty also influences how resistance appears. When you are uncertain, obstacles feel overwhelming. When you are certain, obstacles feel manageable. The same challenge produces a different response depending on your internal state. Certainty changes interpretation, and interpretation determines action. The world tests those who move forward. Doubt invites pressure. Certainty commands respect. This does not mean the path becomes easy. It means the mind becomes prepared. You stop negotiating with fear. You stop explaining your vision to those who do not understand it. You conserve energy for execution. Certainty sharpens decision-making. You spend less time second-guessing and more time adjusting. Mistakes lose their emotional weight. You correct quickly and continue forward. This momentum compounds. The world responds to momentum because it signals commitment. People are drawn to certainty because it provides stability. In uncertain environments, those with inner clarity become anchors. Leadership emerges naturally. Influence grows without effort. This influence is not forced, it is earned through consistency. Certainty also alters timing. When you are unsure, you wait. When you are certain, you act. Action changes outcomes. Action creates feedback. Feedback refines direction. This cycle accelerates progress. The world responds to those who engage, not those who observe. Inner certainty does not require knowing every step. It requires trust in your ability to navigate each step as it appears. This trust eliminates paralysis. You move forward even when conditions are imperfect. Imperfect action with certainty outperforms perfect plans. Without it, the environment reflects internal state. When you believe opportunities are scarce, you overlook them. When you are certain of your value, you recognize openings quickly. Perception sharpens. Awareness expands. The world has always been offering possibilities, but certainty determines whether you see them. Certainty strengthens resilience. When setbacks occur, you do not collapse inward. You remain grounded. You learn and adapt. The world responds by presenting new paths. Persistence signals seriousness. Seriousness attracts results. Confidence without certainty fades under pressure. Certainty remains stable. It is built through disciplined thought and repeated action. Each decision reinforces it. Each result strengthens it. Inner certainty removes the need for approval. You act from purpose instead of validation. This independence frees energy. The world respects those who respect themselves. When inner certainty becomes consistent, life responds differently. Conversations shift. Opportunities appear. Resistance weakens, not because the world has changed, but because your internal signal has become clear and steady. The world is always listening. It responds not to what you hope for, but to what you are certain of. Faith in yourself must exist before proof appears. Waiting for evidence before believing is the most common mistake that keeps potential locked away. Proof is not the beginning of achievement, it is the result of belief expressed through action. If results came first, belief would be unnecessary. Growth demands that you trust what you cannot yet see and move forward before certainty is visible. Every meaningful outcome follows this order. First comes belief, then commitment, then action, and only later does proof arrive. Reversing this order leads to stagnation. Those who demand guarantees before effort remain trapped in preparation. They plan, analyze, and wait. While those with faith begin, adjust, and progress, faith does not mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let uncertainty control your decisions. It means acting with confidence despite incomplete information. The path reveals itself through movement, not observation. Clarity is earned by doing, not by waiting. The mind resists acting without proof because it seeks safety. It prefers certainty over possibility. But safety rarely leads to growth. Faith challenges this instinct. It asks you to trust your ability to adapt, learn, and persist. That trust becomes strength over time. Most people underestimate themselves because they rely on external validation to define internal worth. They look for signs, approval, or permission. Faith in yourself removes this dependency. You no longer need reassurance to move forward. You create confidence through action. Proof is always delayed. Results take time. Progress often appears invisible at first. Faith sustains effort during this period. Without it, momentum collapses before outcomes have time to develop. Faith bridges the gap between effort and result. When faith is present, failure loses its power. Each setback becomes information instead of judgment. You continue not because success is guaranteed, but because growth is certain. This mindset transforms adversity into fuel. Faith strengthens discipline. You show up even when motivation fades. You remain consistent when feedback is minimal. This consistency compounds into progress. Over time, faith becomes justified through results. The world tests faith before rewarding it. Doubt appears. Obstacles emerge. Resistance increases. These tests are not signs to stop. They are confirmations that you are moving forward. T. Those who retreat at the first sign of difficulty never reach proof. Faith sharpens focus. You stop chasing every option and commit fully to one direction. Commitment simplifies decisions. Energy concentrates. Effort intensifies. This intensity accelerates results. Belief without action is ineffective. Faith must express itself through disciplined movement. Each action strengthens belief. Each result reinforces faith. This cycle builds unstoppable momentum. Waiting for proof keeps you reactive. Acting in faith makes you proactive. You shape circumstances instead of responding to them. Control shifts inward. Confidence stabilizes. Faith in yourself is not blind optimism. It is the decision to trust your capacity to figure things out. It is confidence in your resilience, not in perfect outcomes. When proof finally appears, it feels inevitable. But it was never sudden. It was built through countless unseen decisions made in faith. Those moments define success more than the result itself. Faith is the foundation. Proof is the structure built upon it. Without the foundation, nothing stands. Fear loses power when belief takes control. Fear thrives in uncertainty, hesitation, and self-doubt. It grows loud when the mind is undecided and directionless. But the moment belief becomes firm, fear begins to weaken. It does not vanish completely, yet it no longer commands attention or dictates behavior. Belief shifts authority from emotion to purpose, And in that shift, fear is reduced to background noise. Fear is not evidence of inability, it is evidence of importance. It appears whenever something meaningful is at stake. The mistake most people make is treating fear as a warning to stop instead of a signal to prepare and move forward. Belief reframes fear. It transforms it from a threat into a test of commitment. When belief is weak, fear dominates the imagination. It magnifies risk and minimizes capability. It creates worst-case scenarios and convinces the mind they are inevitable. But belief changes the narrative. It reminds you of past resilience, of growth earned through struggle, of challenges already overcome. Memory becomes a source of strength instead of limitation. Belief provides direction. Fear thrives in confusion. When goals are unclear and purpose is undefined, fear fills the void. Clear belief focuses energy. It gives the mind something to move toward instead of something to run from. Movement weakens fear. Action exposes fear's exaggerations and reveals them as illusions. The body responds to belief. Breathing steadies, muscles relax, posture changes. These physical shifts send feedback to the mind, reinforcing confidence. Fear loses intensity when the body stops signaling danger. Belief interrupts the fear cycle at both mental and physical levels. Fear demands attention. Belief demands action. You cannot obey both simultaneously. Each time you act despite fear, belief strengthens. Each time belief strengthens, fear's influence diminishes. Over time, fear no longer feels like an obstacle. It becomes a familiar sensation that accompanies progress. Belief also shortens recovery time. When setbacks occur, fear attempts to interpret them as failure. Belief interprets them as feedback. Instead of spiraling into hesitation, you adapt and continue. Resilience replaces panic. Stability replaces overreaction. Fear isolates. It convinces you that you are alone, unprepared, and incapable. Belief reconnects you to purpose. It reminds you why the effort matters. Purpose anchors the mind during uncertainty. Anchored minds are not easily shaken. The mind is conditioned to avoid discomfort. Fear exploits this instinct. Belief overrides it by focusing on long-term vision rather than short-term relief. Growth always requires temporary discomfort. Belief makes that discomfort tolerable by giving it meaning. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is belief deciding that progress is more important than comfort. Every courageous act strengthens belief and weakens fear's authority. Confidence is built through repeated acts of courage, not through waiting for fear to disappear. Fear exaggerates consequences. Belief evaluates reality. When belief is strong, fear's predictions lose credibility. You stop asking what could go wrong and start asking what could be built. Consistency is the enemy of fear. Belief fuels consistency. Daily disciplined action leaves no space for fear to grow. Momentum becomes protection. Progress becomes proof. Fear survives in imagination. Belief thrives in execution. Execution reveals truth. Truth dissolves fear. When belief takes control, fear no longer defines limits. It becomes a reminder that you are moving beyond familiarity. That reminder signals growth, not danger. Fear loses power not because it is defeated, but because it is no longer obeyed. Consistency strengthens belief into unshakable power. Belief that appears once and disappears under pressure is fragile, but belief reinforced daily becomes identity. What you do repeatedly trains your mind what to accept as truth. Every consistent action sends a message inward, and that message shapes who you become. Consistency is not loud motivation, it is quiet proof to yourself that you can be trusted. And when you trust yourself, belief stops being an idea and becomes a force. In the beginning, belief is often weak. It exists as hope, desire, or intention. It has not yet been tested. The first challenges expose this weakness. Doubt appears, motivation fades. This is where most people stop. But consistency does something powerful at this stage. It keeps you moving even when belief feels uncertain. Action continues before confidence arrives, and slowly belief begins to harden. Each time you show up despite resistance, belief gains weight. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, belief grows stronger. The mind records evidence. It stops arguing with your capability because behavior proves commitment. Over time, belief no longer depends on emotion. It becomes grounded in experience. Consistency eliminates internal conflict. When your words and actions align repeatedly, the mind stops questioning direction. Decision-making becomes faster. Energy becomes focused. You are no longer convincing yourself to act, you are acting because it is who you are. This alignment creates power. Belief without consistency is unstable. It rises and falls with circumstances. Consistency stabilizes belief by making progress independent of mood. You move whether you feel confident or not. This removes emotional volatility from the process. Growth becomes predictable. The mind responds to patterns. When effort is repeated daily, the mind accepts it as normal. Resistance decreases. Discipline becomes automatic. What once required force now requires routine. This is how belief turns into strength. It no longer needs encouragement. Consistency also reshapes self-image. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who does. This shift is subtle but permanent. Identity changes behavior faster than motivation ever could. Once belief is part of identity, it becomes unshakable. External validation becomes irrelevant. You no longer need praise to continue. The habit itself reinforces belief. Progress becomes internal before it becomes visible. This internal satisfaction sustains long-term effort. Setbacks lose their power under consistency. When progress is habitual, interruptions are temporary. You do not quit, you adjust. The goal remains intact. Belief remains stable. Resilience replaces frustration. Consistency compounds results. Small actions repeated daily create outcomes that seem disproportionate over time. This compounding effect reinforces belief further. You trust the process because you have lived it. Doubt has no space to grow. Consistency also trains patience. You stop demanding immediate results. You understand that growth is cumulative. Patience protects belief from disappointment. You stay focused on process instead of outcome. The strongest form of belief is quiet. It does not need to announce itself. It expresses itself through routine, through showing up, through doing the work when no one is watching. This belief cannot be shaken by opinions or delays because it is rooted in behavior, not emotion. When consistency is broken, belief weakens, not instantly but gradually. The mind begins to question commitment. Confidence erodes. This is why discipline matters more than intensity. Intensity excites belief temporarily. Consistency builds it permanently. Belief built through consistency is calm. It does not panic under pressure. It does not collapse under uncertainty. It adapts and continues. This calm strength is what allows long-term success.
Over time, consistency removes the need for motivation. Action becomes automatic. Belief becomes default. Progress becomes inevitable.
Unshakable belief